Hey guys, how's it going? It is week 11 on Draftkings, and I have another head-to-head battle for you. Myself and the Oddsmaker, Sean Corner from Fantasy Labs, are going to be building lineups against one another to play head-to-head for $200 donated to charity. He has a charity picked out, I have my own charity picked out, and the loser will donate $200 to the winner's charity. We've done this 8 times. This is the 9th one. I am 5-3 through all of these cage matches. I'm feeling pretty good. This is my turf. This is my home court advantage, my YouTube channel, my Twitch channel. This is where it all goes down. And every week I bring somebody else from the industry and I bring them into the cage and see if I can't raise some awareness for some charities, whether it's their charity or whether it's No Kid Hungry, the charity that we've been fundraising for on this channel all season long, or the charities that they bring up. And Sean's going to be playing for the Welly Maker, which is a charity water donation set up by Drew Dinkmeyer, who we've had on the show in the past, to try and make wells to get water to people that do not have the ability to have clean water in their lives. So it's really brought a lot of life to a lot of different people, a lot of different regions throughout Africa and other places in the world. So really happy to be playing for them, and I will be playing for No Kid Hungry, as I said, giving food and school lunches to kids that don't have the ability to actually get that food themselves. 1 in 6 kids in this country suffer from hunger, and we're going to try and do what we can to try and eradicate as much of that as we can as a community. So without any further ado, let me bring in Sean. Sean, how you doing today?
Hey, Al, what's up? Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of this format. I love it. That's the thing with head-to-head cash games is, there's a lot of overlap. So I just love the format of drafting. And I think I'm going to be the favorite, but that's my plan. Is hopefully at the end of this, I have myself as the favorite. But I don't know. Like I said, you have home field advantage, so you're going to be pretty tough at this.
I was going to say, you're the guy who sets the odds. So if you don't make yourself the favorite, then I think you're sandbagging at that point.
Yeah, it would involve some mistake. Like I said, this process is brand new to me. I've seen some of the lineups people have had, so I kind of know some of the strategy behind it. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting if you catch me off guard or something. Then you could become the favorite, I think.
If you get sniped for somebody, I will say that it does kind of change things a little bit. You go a little bit on tilt in your own head. For those who are new to watching these videos, a head-to-head game, you can have overlap, right? So like if you play head-to-head on DraftKings, you might have 3, 4, 5 players that your opponent has. We're going to draft these players with salaries in mind, so we can't have any overlap. So if he takes the best value, and our guest always gets to choose whether they want first and 1 or second and 2. Sean has chose first, so he is going to pick first here. It's up to you, but before you start, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on social media and where they can find your podcasts and your work and your articles? And you've done great projections for years. So tell them all about where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at @the_oddsmaker. And I work for the Action Network, so you can find all my content there. Every week, I put out my fantasy season-long rankings for each week. I have a bunch of content that's gambling related. I break down every spread and total for every game. And then you can find my fantasy level projections themselves. They fuel Fantasy Labs, so at fantasylabs.com. You can use our models and stuff that are fueled by my projections. And my claim to fame has been, I think it was 2015 to 2017, I won first place in the Fantasy Pros most accurate in-season rankings. So I take my weekly projections seriously. And I also use those to attack player props. So we have a player prop tool on Fantasy Labs, and any prop that we've showed a rating of 10 for has won about 60% of the time the past year. So ton of content over there. Come check it out. And like I said, just thankful for you having me. I love this format like a ton. So looking forward to this.
I mean, as I've said in the past, I was really happy that you took the time, because like there was nothing in it for you, but like I said, hey, if somebody's going to make odds for this, it needs to be the odds maker. And like you took time out of your day and you put you had spreads, you had totals, you had money line, you did it completely right. So I was like, I have to have him on the show. Thank you for being here. And I need to write that down. 60% on prop bets is good. Okay. So it's your pick. Who do you want?
Yeah, so like I said, I think this week I want to go first. I know a lot of your guests, kick it off to you, but I'm going to go the Belichick route and flip it around. I think that if you were to take this guy, it would tilt me and kind of, throw off my plan. I don't think he's the best value, so to speak, but I'm going with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
He's at home against the Bengals. He's only 6,900. I actually have him projected up in this tier with, I'm not going to mention names because I want him later, but he's, these 8 to 7K guys, so to speak. But yeah, he's at home. They're 10-point favorites. He's actually averaged, 23.1 DK points in their 5 wins this year and only 10.95 DK points in their 4 losses. I think a lot of that's due to, the unfortunate thing, the lack of the passing game involvement. So if they get down, you're going to see more Jalen Richard. This is a huge Josh Jacobs spot. And yes, I mean, we can only really count on 2 to 3 receptions, but, is a couple more receptions worth, $3K to get these bigger name guys that I think, Josh Jacobs isn't that far behind. I don't think so. So I want to start with Jacobs, sort of a mid-price guy where I don't really tip my hand too much. And he's a guy where if you took him, it'd throw off my whole plan. So that's why I wanted to go first.
I mean, if you had left him me, I was certainly going to take him. He's a great value this week, only 6,900. Little sneak preview. I finished Best Buys this morning, and guess what, guys? Josh Jacobs is going to be in Best Buys this week. So he is somebody that I definitely like a lot. Good first pick there. There's a lot to do on this slate, right? There's a lot of stuff that's out there. Like we have some crazy stuff like Michael Thomas up at 9,900, like a 20% price hike based on the matchup against Tampa Bay. I'm not going to say that it's absurd because I don't think that it is absurd, but like it's really high.
Yeah, he's worth it.
Yeah, like he gets 30 points every week.
Yeah, he's worth it, but there's just, there's so many guys just below him. So yeah, they made it tough to take him this week.
They did. But there's 2 guys that I want. And I feel like I can get a couple of other guys around, regardless of what I leave for you here. There's one character that I feel that I need to have this week. And it's Dalvin Cook. At 8,900, the amount of volume that this cat is getting every single week is just absolutely phenomenal. Him playing at home against Denver, kind of a neutral matchup. They're right there in the middle in terms of DVP. This is a massive home favorite with a really high total, and everything in this offense goes through Dalvin Cook. 30 points, 15.6, 28.1, 30.9. He's, I forget the exact stat because I wrote this down again. I wrote this down this week, and he's like, I think second in the league in terms of carries inside the 5 and top 3, I believe, don't quote me on this one, it's very close if I'm wrong, in terms of red zone carries, not including targets. So give me Dalvin Cook to start it off. I'll take the floor. I don't know why it threw him in the flex, but I want Dalvin Cook. I'm going to plug him in right there. And I'm going to find a value, and it's going to be Russell Gage. He is the cheapest wide receiver. I've already tilted him with the first pick.
Yeah, you got me there.
Russell Gage at 3,300.
Are we allowed to cuss on this? Just
yeah, you can. Yeah, I won't, but you can.
Okay. I was afraid of this. All right.
This is the problem with 2nd and 2. This is somebody's going to be gone. I'm going to take the high price guy. I'm also going to take a low price guy because I think that there's going to be other talent left to me later. Russell Gage is somebody I don't think is very replaceable on this slate with the amount of volume that he's seen and the amount of volume that is going to be gone from this Falcons offense. With Hooper out, B, with Freeman probably out, creates just an enormous amount of volume in this passing game. He is second on this team in terms of red zone targets behind only Hooper. Julio Jones is not with him over the last 4 weeks. It's basically been Russell Gage. He's not a guy that challenges down the field, so like he doesn't have that massive upside, really low ADOT player. But 14 targets over the last 2 weeks, 3,300. If I get 5 catches for 45 yards for this price, I'm pretty much all right in this cage match because it allows me to spend up elsewhere. So I'm going to take Gage to go along with Dalvin Cook. I'm going to kick it back to you.
Yeah, I love that pick. Like you said, I mean, he took over, basically the Sanu role. Mm-hmm. And then, with Hooper and Devontae Freeman out, he's just going to be getting those checkdowns for Matt Ryan. So I love that pick at 3,300. I mean, his floor is so high for that price. Mm-hmm. He was going to be my next pick, full disclosure.
Nice.
So since you threw me off there, I'm gonna take the guy that he replaced. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Mohamed Sanu at 5,100.
Yep.
I can't risk you getting him. That'll really ruin my plan. But, we've seen, one of the things that I've typically done is when a receiver gets traded in season, I'm very cautious with them to start. But, after seeing Amari Cooper, what he did last year in Dallas, and then Emmanuel Sanders for the 49ers, and now Sanu, I mean, he just hit the ground running in this offense. Before their bye, he ran 100% of the snaps. So we saw 14 targets, I believe. So he got the bye to learn the playbook even better, get more chemistry with Tom Brady. So I'm just thinking at 5,100. I just think he still has a massively high floor, but his ceiling could be higher in this offense. He didn't really see the touchdowns in Atlanta, but with Brady, who knows? He could be, one of his favorite red zone weapons. So I love Sanu this week at this price, especially at Philly, who is, has been a pretty fast pass funnel defense this year as well.
Yeah, this year, last year, the year before, like we've been streaming wide receivers against Philly for how long now, right? And my Discord, I know, is really high on Mohamed Sanu, so I'm sure that they're cheering for you now with Jacobs and Sanu, two really great plays to start this off. You're right in the mid-range. You got plenty of ways that you can go with the rest of this team. I'm going to take another value player. I'm going to take somebody else off the board here at wide receiver. I don't know if Kittle is going to be out or not this weekend, but I think that Deebo Samuel has carved out a really, really nice role in this offense and is still sitting at 4,000 with him out. Last week, 11 targets on Monday Night, Kittle being out. 11 targets on Monday Night Football. And against Arizona before with Kittle in, 7 targets, 4 catches, 8 fantasy points. Obviously, I want like 12 plus from him if I'm playing him. I think that there's paths to that in the case that Kittle is either there or at least limited. I'm going to take the value here and look to lock up value and see where I can spend on studs later.
Another great pick. That's a guy where his value can only go up this week if, like you said, Kittle misses this week again, or Emmanuel Sanders. If they both miss at 4K, he's to be
a smash,
free square. Yeah, free square this week. Super chalky. Takes a little risk. This is Wednesday, so there's some risk involved with that, but love the pick.
Thank you.
Oh, man. All right. So you're throwing me off a little bit here. All right.
It's tough when you get in the cage. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Well, I still have a plan. I have guys in buckets. Like I don't really get too attached to players. So I'm just trying to navigate this because Gage was supposed to be my, my cheap play I lock in. It's, you could position me later where I have to just pick a guy I don't like later. I'm going to try to avoid that. Let's see. I'm going to lock in. Actually, I don't want to do that quite yet. I'm gonna lock in DJ Moore right now at 5,900.
Love him.
I talked him up last week, and I think the buzz with him isn't really meeting his usage because he hasn't scored since week 3. This week the Cardinals, I think they have the third highest team total at home against Atlanta. So, that elevates everybody's touchdown odds in my model. So Moore can have a huge game, but still, he's going to see the targets. He's going to see the yardage. So I like his floor this week, and I think he's due for a ceiling game as well. So I'm going to lock him in at 5,900. I think that he's way too cheap this week. So I'm going to lock him in.
40 targets the past 4 weeks. One of the league leaders in terms of downfield targets the last 4 weeks as well. And Atlanta really bad at defending long passes, allow a really high completion rate on long passes. So as you said, good possibility for a ceiling week out of DJ Moore. Absolutely love that pick. I mean, we've been riding him on this entire train. Now, at some point, like you're a Fantasy Labs guy. At some point, those trends where like the ownership's going to go up and the price is going to go up, and it's going to be a time for us to get off that train.
Yeah.
I don't think this week is the week. So I still think he's in play against Atlanta. Sorry.
Yep.
I think that there's one value. I usually wait on one-off positions, but I think that there's one value play at quarterback that kind of changes everything. And he's sitting only at 5,300. He's been fine. He hasn't been thrilling. He hasn't been great. He's done good things, but not great things. But now he's got a dream matchup against Atlanta. You just took his top wide receiver. I think that between Olsen and between Moore and between Samuel and between the pass catching abilities of Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Allen is set for a very efficient day, and he's been throwing it 30 to 40 something times a week. Really high team total here. Game possibly could shoot out. As long as he does not turn the ball over a ton, I think I got a good path to 20 fantasy points. If he gets 20, that's almost 4x on that salary. And I'll take that with for 5,300. With so many other quarterbacks this week, usually I wait. I fill all my running backs, my wide receivers, and possibly a tight end before I go quarterback in these cage matches. But like, I don't like any other cheap quarterbacks. Wentz is great, but he's got a bad matchup. You know, I'm not going to pay for 5,600 for Foles against Indy in a slowdown game. Not really, as much as I love Darnold before the season, it's a really low pace game there as well, and low totaled game there as well. Everything else that I would want is above 6K. I'm going to take the saves and see what else I can build with this lineup with Kyle Allen quarterbacking the ship.
Yep, love that pick. He was a guy I was potentially eyeing, depending how things went, as my cheap QB. So, and you know, I have DJ Moore going, so we have a little bit of a battle there. Wonder if I can block you in other ways now that you went there. But yeah, so let's see. Oh man, I think I'm gonna do it then. You know, tight end is a bit of a dumpster fire this week. You know, we have Kittle with the dream matchup against Cardinals, but we don't know if he's gonna play. I think Mark Andrews is a little overpriced. Darren Waller is definitely overpriced, and I don't want Zach Ertz. So next up is Greg Olsen at 3,900. So if I take him, I'm, you know, hoping that Curtis Samuel doesn't have a big game. And McCaffrey is held in check a little bit, but yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. I didn't want to go this route so soon, but I'm gonna lock in Greg Olsen. I think he's another one-off position. I just want to lock in that value at 3,100. He's sort of in that middle tier, but this isn't a week I want to. Sometimes I like to take chances with, you know, near min price tight ends, but I just don't see the need for that this week. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen plugged into your lineup. Josh Jacobs, Mo Sanu, DJ Moore, and Greg Olsen. I've got the quarterback for those two. There's still other options on that offense that could be taken. I have 5,700 remaining. I also have a defense which is going to pump that average remaining salary up. I can also take a cheap tight end, as you mentioned. I don't think that the high-priced tight ends are going to be in vogue in cash games this week like they have been in previous weeks. Everything 5K and above looks like it's just out of the reach right now. I think some of them are good for tournaments, but not really for cash games. So I honestly think that this is kind of a week where you can jam guys in. And Detroit has allowed the most points on DraftKings to opposing running backs. And Ezekiel Elliott is getting back to that super high volume form that he was in last season for the Dallas Cowboys. 22 touches last week, 23 the week before, 28 the week before that, 33 the week before that. 19.3 fantasy points per game against a team that's allowing over 30 fantasy points a game to opposing running backs. Big time floor, big time ceiling this week for Zeke, even though it is a game on the road. I usually do like to focus on home running backs, but I will always focus on volume. And Ezekiel Elliott is one of my favorite plays this week. I think that he has a chance at the bonus, definite chance at a touchdown this week with him getting 80% of the red zone touches on of the running backs on this Dallas Cowboys team. Give me Zeke. I've got Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott. I think I've got at least 50 to 55 touches out of those two running backs with two very solid value wide receivers. It still leaves me with 4,800, and I've got a defense and a tight end that I can pick that are going to boost that salary as well. I'm feeling good about where I'm sitting.
Yeah, you're looking pretty good. And I think you're forcing me to do what I didn't want to do. So I can't. Okay. I wish it's a little too early for a shot, but I'm going to need one for this. God, I'm already going to it. Oh God, I hate myself right now. I'm going to just like a Band-Aid. What's that Seinfeld quote? Like a Band-Aid right
just
off.
Rip it right off.
Just kill me now. All right, Kalen Ballage. Let's do it.
Oh boy.
I did not want to do this. But you know, last week we saw him get, you know, 82% of the snaps. And you know, Myles Gaskin and Patrick Laird were more change of pace backs. Kalen Ballage converted his 4 targets to 4 catches for only 2 yards, but you know, 4,300. in a game that should be pretty competitive against the Bills. He's going to see every goal line carry. The fact that you took Russell Gage, I think he's the only other cheap guy I want to go out of my way for. So I'm going to just lock him in. I know his floor is pretty low, but at this price, pretty much with the guaranteed workhorse role for the Dolphins, which is not saying much, I think I'm just going to have to do it. And I don't want to, but
and I don't want to is probably the quote of the week. Kalen Ballage, welcome to the Bellagio.
Thank you.
Speaking of, are you going to go to the Vegas FSGA this year?
I'm always just trying to get through the week. I haven't thought about it.
Thought about January yet?
Now that it's back in Vegas, that is very intriguing. So I probably will. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be there too. So maybe we'll get to hang out and I'll buy you a drink for actually picking Kalen Ballage there. Since you mentioned you need a shot after taking him. Who do you have here? Okay, you got Greg Olsen. I'm going to pick another tight end. So we're both going to have our tight end spot filled. As you mentioned, guys at the top are just too, Kittle, I can't pick Kittle on a Wednesday. Because, what if he plays and then he's active but not really active? I can't really take Andrews at the price that he's at, and considering that he's playing about half the snaps and only running, what did he run, 16 routes last week? So extremely touchdown dependent, right?
Yep.
An extremely touchdown dependent tight end, and you're paying $6,100 to get that. When I can get a touchdown dependent tight end for $4K or $3K or whatever, although Mark Andrews does play on a much higher scoring offense, all this sort of thing. I'm not taking anything away from how good Mark Andrews is. And you mentioned the dream matchup for George Kittle, but Tampa Bay has also been really, really awful at defending the tight end position. Basically, they're bad at defending anything that can catch a football. And Jared Cook is basically the number 3 option in this New Orleans Saints offense right now, behind Michael Thomas, the great Michael Thomas, the record-breaking possibly Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara, who catches a ton of balls himself. Maybe a 15 to 20% target share in this really high-scoring game against a team that's going to funnel you to not be able to run the ball and have to throw it. And if you're telling me that the hyper-efficient Drew Brees is probably going to have to throw it 10 more times this week, considering they have a run pass mix of 60% pass, but teams have thrown the ball against Tampa Bay 68% of the time. If he throws it 65% of the time this weekend, based on that reverse funnel, Jared Cook's targets could go up just a little bit. 10 targets last week. I'm not expecting more than 10, but I think that maybe this 6 to 8 range is definitely in play, as well as a lot of the red zone and end zone looks if they get close, sharing those with Thomas and sharing those split between the ground and the air with Kamara. So give me Jared Cook at only $4,400. I think that the price is still too cheap, though it has come up. If it was about $5K, I'd have to fade. $4,800, I'd have to fade. $4,400, I think the value's there. I think the targets are there to pay it off with volume alone, and touchdowns would just be a cherry on top.
Yep, great pick. Let's see. Well, I have some extra cash now that I took Ballage. All right, yeah, I'm gonna take my boy here. I'm gonna go with Chris Godwin.
There it is.
At 7,300.
Mm-hmm.
At home against the Saints. No Lattimore. I don't think that would have mattered for Godwin, but just love this matchup. Earlier in this season, I loaded up on Chris Godwin to lead the league in receiving yards at 100 to 1. And it looked good until last week. I think Michael Thomas is going to take that, but he's slipped a little bit the past couple weeks, but I think he's going to have a big game here. And I think Evans obviously has the higher ceiling, but since this is just a head-to-head matchup, I think I'm going to take Godwin. I think he has a higher floor here. I have some cash to spend, so I think Godwin's the guy I want to take here.
And double-digit games for Godwin in every game except one this year.
Exactly.
So he's got, as you said, a really good floor, and he hasn't found the end zone in a month? So if he does find his way into the end zone, and the slot has been the problem for New Orleans in terms of them defending. If Lattimore's in, it's a problem. If Lattimore's out, it's an even bigger problem for them. So Godwin, definitely a solid pick there, leaving you with 5,300, but you have a defense. You also have a quarterback and a flex that you can go with. Coming back to my side, I've got a wide receiver. I've got a flex. But I'm going to kind of check this back to you, and I'm going to take a defense off the board that I like a lot this week. Even without, I never really care about the points that a defense gives up. I care about how much pressure they can get on an opponent. And couple that with how much an opponent's quarterback has the possibility to turn the ball over. And while Jameis Winston has done a great job of throwing yards and touchdowns and everything else, he also throws it to the team in the other shirt almost as much as he throws it to his own team, and he has a fumbling issue as well. So I'll take that sack floor, that turnover floor, and the Saints have done a really good job of forcing all of those things this year. So at 2,900, they kind of fit with the team that I have right now, leaving me 6,100 for a flex and a wide receiver.
Yeah, love it. Love the, fade Jameis Winston. I was half joking on our Action Network podcast this week when I said, an interesting contrarian stack could be Jameis Winston, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and the Saints defense to roll it back. He
might throw a touchdown to all three.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So not a bad idea if you want to go contrarian in that regard. Oh man, let's see.
You got a quarterback, but you can take your quarterback last, and you can take your defense last because I already took those. You have a flex remaining, so you can take one more player away from me if you choose your flex player here.
Kind of wanted to save the flex for last just to know how much money I have.
Right.
Well, I guess I do know how much money I would have. Yeah, I think, let's see. Actually, I'll know exactly what my team's going to look like in a second.
Yeah, see, you have the opportunity to do that, and I don't. See, I have to be my own producer, my own director. I have to host the show. I have to draft my team. The guest has all the advantage in these shows because you can click around with your team and see exactly what you can do. I can't.
There is some road team advantage there. You're correct. Let's see. So I'll have 6,500 left.
He knows where he's going to go. This is the worst spot for me. Like, one of the smartest guys in the fantasy football industry knows exactly where he can go with everything and just take stuff away from me now. You said he's in the 65.
All right. Okay. I think I got it. And he's a guy that I typically don't consider high floor, but this year he has. And this week he's in the smash spot against the Dolphins. I'm going to go Smokey Brown at 6,400. But like I said, it's bizarre that he is just a completely just high floor player. Every week he's going to get 5 catches for 77 yards and no touchdowns. So hopefully, against the Dolphins, he adds a touchdown to that. But just it's been amazing how consistent he's been this year.
Has this been like and I drafted a ton of John Brown coming into the year because he was super cheap. He was going after his quarterback, Josh Allen, who was going like the 11th to 13th rounds. And John Brown was going in like the 13th to 16th rounds in a lot of drafts. And I have so much of him that if you told me that he was going to be one of my most consistent wide receivers, but not have one 30-point game this season, I would have been shocked.
Right, exactly. I mean, he was the guy where I would always use the caveat like, oh, he's great for best ball.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have the big weeks. You don't know when, but, he has that really low floor. So take him in best ball. And he's been the exact opposite. We thought, he's going to just be Josh Allen's deep ball guy, but he's just been his number one target, and
very steady,
more diverse route tree, and just a steady, consistent, wide receiver 2 kind of guy. So yeah, it's been bizarre, but at this point, we have a big enough sample size where we can feel at least comfortable that he's going to see, probably 5 catches, 70 to 80 yards. So I'll take it. Yeah,
and look, if they connect on a big one. I mean, like I said this last week on The Edge, right? I said, if I told you that John Brown would only have 1 catch of over 30 yards this season and it's week 11 and he played every game, would you have believed me?
No, that would make no sense. The odds of that would be extremely low. So it's just mystifying. Exactly.
All right. So I have a wide receiver and I have a flex. I cannot afford Christian McCaffrey. I can't fully team jam him in here, guys. It's not possible. It would leave me with 1.7K. That would put me over the cap and he would get to take somebody off my team. So I can't do that. I can pick a wide receiver in the mid-range, somebody like an Edelman, right? And leave me with 4,600. Somebody like a Mike Evans and leave me with 4,800. I could also take a wide receiver. I think that there's enough value in this 4,800 and down range that I can get somebody that I want. So I'm going to take one of them right now, and it's going to be Brian Hill. at 4,800. With Freeman gone, I think that he is a very high floor running back. If he finds his way into the end zone this week, great. I'll take the touch volume here to get me over 70, I hope, between my 3 running backs. And then I've got a wide receiver to pick from for 7,400. I'm feeling pretty good about the wide receiver choices that are left to me, and I can't be blocked. Do you want me to take him now, or do you want me to wait?
Oh, you could take him now.
I mean, for me, I'm going to counter your Godwin with Mike Evans. When, I know that it's against my defense, but as you said, I really don't care. I'm looking for floor in this situation. He's seen a tremendous amount of volume. He's seen a tremendous amount of targets. And when you factor in that he sees more targets when Jameis Winston is pressured, Jameis just throws it towards Mike Evans whenever he's pressured. He's got like a 26% target rate all the time, and a 30+% target rate when pressured. Does Mike Evans when Jameis is pressured? So I'm going to go and fly, pee into the wind here against my own defense, because I don't care about points scored for my defense. I just care about interceptions. I care about fumbles. I care about sacks. They can do that, and Mike Evans can have himself a really solid day for head-to-head to just counter what you've got there and give me the other side of this New Orleans Jared Cook play that I have. That's going to finish off my team. Kyle Allen, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Gage, Samuel, Evans, Cook, Brian Hill, and Saints. And I do want to say that's not something I usually would do. I would probably never do it in a head-to-head game, but in a cage match, it's a different scenario. I don't have all the players at my disposal. I don't have everybody out there. He's taking great value plays off the board. I could have gone with a different defense earlier, but for me, I'm happy with where this is, even if it takes a couple of points off the Saints defense. If he has a monster day, it's not going to matter, right? If the Saints D has 8 points instead of 11, but Mike Evans has 35, who cares? And if Mike Evans has a bad day and the Saints D has a good day, fine. I'm okay with it either way. And I really like my team so far for this cage match. I think when those odds comes out, I might be the favorite.
We'll see about that. I think I have the spread ready to go, because I know who I'm picking. Okay, I will go with my quarterback here.
Okay.
And I budgeted out. I'm gonna go with Dak Prescott. 6,700. Love the matchup against Detroit. You have Ezekiel Elliott, so blocking that a little bit. We'll see, but Detroit, they've been gashed by pretty weak quarterbacks lately. Kirk Cousins had the big. I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is weak, so to speak, but he had the 4-touchdown game. Daniel Jones had the 4-touchdown game. Derek Carr 2 touchdowns, and then Trubisky 3 touchdowns last week. I just think this is a great matchup for Dak on the road. He really fits into these last 2 picks for me, so love getting him there. I was hoping maybe I could spend up to get Lamar Jackson if you allowed me to get Russell Gage. I had a plan for that, but it was either going to be Lamar Jackson, Kyle Allen, or Dak Prescott. So you kind of forced me to Dak.
I'm really glad I forced you off Lamar Jackson, to be honest with you.
Yeah, seriously.
He scares me in these things.
He's expensive, but I was going to make it work. And for defense, I'm going to just go with the Vikings. They are my top-ranked defense. That's
3,400.
Exactly how much budget is left. At home against Brandon Allen. He had a pretty good debut. I took advantage of the spread moved. I think it was 5.5 points going from Joe Flacco to Brandon Allen, which I thought was ridiculous. I don't think
Joe Flacco's not worth 5 points in this NFL in 2019.
Exactly. But I went back, I watched some of his preseason games, and he can be very aggressive with the ball. So I think, the Vikings at home, I think, like a pick 6 is possible here. They just pop in my model as the number 1 overall defense. So I'm happy getting them there. Typically in cash games, I don't spend up for defense, but this format kind of forces your hand to do things you normally wouldn't do. So I'm going to go with the Vikings.
I don't think any of those picks are bad. You guys know how much I like John Brown. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Sean's got Dak Prescott, Josh Jacobs, Kalen Ballage, Mohamed Sanu, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Greg Olsen, John Brown, and the Vikings defense. I'm rolling with Kyle Allen, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Gage, Samuel, Mike Evans, Jared Cook, Brian Hill, and the Saints defense. Let us know in the replies down below who you think is going to win this cage match and by how much, and I'm sure that Sean's going to have his odds. Sean, thank you for joining me this week. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Guys, that's going to do it. Please, if you would be so kind before you leave, drop a like on this video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and ring that notifications bell because I come out with a ton of content during the week and I wouldn't want you to miss any of it. But until the next video, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
He's a legend.